Hey everyone, welcome back to Potential Meets Passion. I'm your host, Annie, and Potential Meets Passion is a podcast where we talk about self-discovery to mental health through sustainable practices at home. And today we have a special guest, Tien, and we're going to be talking about how to turn your trauma into gifts and getting yourself out of the victim cycle, why things keep happening the same way, and reconnecting with your true power, who you really are. Okay, welcome back, guys. Today we are interviewing Tien, who I've met, and she actually lives in California. And this is our first podcast online with Potential Meets Passion, where we help people reconnect with their authenticity through wellness. So, Tien, can you give a brief introduction about who you are?
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Tiensirin, as Annie call me Tien. I am advanced certified Akashic Record readers. So let's talk about what Akashic Record for a little bit. So Akashic Record is, just imagine it's a giant database in the heavenly realm of your soul. While you here, why you show us the parents you have, why you show us the gift and ability you have, and it's collecting all your thought, feeling, and belief, everything of it in this space. And I was trained to access it, to access story about your past life, your current life, and maybe potential future, but not so much, because the work that I do is more about focusing on how can you use the gift that you have to enhance your future. So I am that, and I also had years of experience working in the entertainment industry as a photo editor for television and film. So that's what I do. So that's a little bit of brief introduction about me.
Okay, that sounds very deep though. You can access basically database. When we say this database, it's all your collected identities from multiple places everywhere else. And then for example, you're here, I'm here on this earth, but I might have an identity somewhere else as well. And that's also part of me. And we're talking about not just the past, but everything happening all at once in different dimensions as well, right? Am I correct?
Absolutely. I always tell people that we are a being that lives multiple lifetimes in this now moment. We come here on this earth to experience new things, experience new connections, also re-experience certain experience that may have come from the past, whether that be a blissful experience or not. We connect with those people again in this lifetime to be co-creator together, to create something different together, and to break away from way that we betray ourselves, way that we are setting ourselves up to be a victim in this world. And sometimes we connect with people again in order to break each other free.
Oh, I see. That's very complicated. I can feel that. It's so many things weaving into each other and all that stuff, right? So how did you actually get to the space from the entertainment industry to here?
Yeah, well, it's always been interesting, because when I was in Thailand, as a young kid who I was very sensitive. I'm a Pisces. I have full planet in Pisces. For those who are interested in astrology, I just can feel people energy. And I remember as a kid, I always just a moody little child. I was just kind of a little bit pissed off all the time, because I can feel people's thoughts and icky thing they think or feel, and I just can feel so much energy, and I didn't quite know how to process it. I was an empath, and I still am, but now I just have tool to be able to manage it in a powerful way, to see it as a gift rather than a curse. So as a kid, I was just feeling all the thing. My dad really into Buddhism. We always go to temple, so he taught me everything that is to know about religion and rituals. And in my teenage year, around 13, I discovered tarot card by, I think it's a famous tarot card reader in Thailand. His name is Mo Yong, I believe. And he was just I just fascinated by what he can do. So I started studying it, and I studied numerology. I study astrology. And I think as a teenager, like our teenager, we confuse as fuck. You know, like we have all these hormones, we have all this desire, we still wanna be nurtured by our parents, but then we also wanna be set free and do our own thing, go party at night and all those things. And I think as a teenager girl, I feel that mysticism was the only thing that I can hold on to make sense of this wild world that we live in. And then I came to the US as an exchange student, and then I stayed on, and then I went on and studied psychology, and I ended up changing my major to art and photography, and then how I got in the entertainment industry. That was what I wanted to do. And then eventually when I was 30, so I'm 45 now, I was going through a lot of changes in my life. You know, I got out from a really horrible toxic relationship where I was really verbally abusive and mentally abusive. I was at the work with a bunch of people that I feel discriminated for being someone from another country. And I was just searching for answer. And then one day I stumbled upon learn how to read Akashic Records. So I was doing that on the side. And I remember the first day that I was going to class, I was a little late. And in the course packet say like, if you're late, you cannot get in. I was like, oh God. And then part of me was like, oh, that's a relief. You know, like, because this is one thing I want to address is that sometimes the very thing that your soul is calling you to do, it can come with a package of fear, because it's so easy to stay in the rut. But when we had an opportunity to break free, sometimes we want to run away from it, because, you know, like it's the unknown. The unknown can be scary. Yeah. So I remember I arrived to the class, and I was just almost like, okay, well, I already paid for it, but I'm going to get the heck out. And then the owner saw me and said, hey, are you here for the class? I was like, oh, crap. So I went in anyways, and the rest was history. So I studied from the beginning, healing, advance, manifesting, and finding your soul path in Akashic Records. So I did 5 courses in it. So I went as far as I could in terms of my study about this particular way of healing and connecting to self.
I see. Yeah. So now are you still in the entertainment industry, or you're just like super focused on?
I am. Like I doing it full time for a long time, and I think got so busy with my healing work, so I chose to step away for a bit. But now they asked me to consult for them part time in the photo department for Warner Brothers. So,
yeah. Wow. Amazing. Thank you, Vitien. That's like a very good introduction. Like a lot of lessons learned from just listening to you for 5 minutes just now. I definitely relate to like when you're about to, you know, achieve your goal, do something your soul wants, and then like your body wants to like pull back and just be like, no, you're not ready for this. Like I'm going through that right now.
Yes, it's a way of, you know, that's why I feel that, you know, and we're going to talk about this later on, how is that work of that inner child. Because our body, you know, how we're talking about Akashic Record and this celestial space that store your information and data. But that aside, our body is literally store our trauma, our bliss, our information, all of that. So sometimes our body would literally you know, retract out of fear of the unknown. And in what way that we can self-soothe ourselves, you know, through Reiki, through meditation, through maybe just screaming in the wild, whatever way that is suitable to you, in order for you to regulate your system and say like, okay, I can do this, you know, this is part of the process, or even with me before I came on here, I was like, oh my God, how is this going to go? What's going to happen? So I had to regulate myself as well. So we are going through it. And what's so beautiful is that when that tension comes, just reminded yourself, at least at the message that's coming through right now, to remind yourself that it must be important for that tension to come up. And just look at it as, ooh, if I get over this hump, that is something to look forward to. That is going to be wonderful.
That's true. That's true. It's just like knowing that it is the hump and it's actually not like a real immediate fear. It's like,
and it's not, and you're not gonna die. You're gonna do it, and everything's gonna be fine. And are you be willing to go to that edge and willing to get over that hump? The more you realize the strength that you have within you. And it's a practice. It's a building of the muscle. So the more you start doing it, the more you just like, oh, okay, So yeah. It's ability to toe that line of daring to go into the unknown, to have courage. And courage is never without fear. True courage is ability to do it anyway, despite fear.
That's true. That's true. So then today, like, I want to get more into this, the courage, the fear part, where we have the intention to talk about the drama triangle and to dissect it down. And I think it has a lot to do with the courage, the fear. But of course, when we say drama, automatically we know it's about fear, right? Like, it's incentivized with fear. But so yeah, can you please, Pitian, explain a little bit what the drama triangle is and how did you hear about this term? Like, this is the first time I've heard about it from you, actually.
Okay, so the drama triangle, I heard about this term at first through my coach. His name is Preston Smile, but he also learned it from a psychologist. His name is Dr. Karpman, Karpman, and he just from what I observe is that they're talking a lot about how we live in the society. I mean, even through how we see Disney movie or how we see movies, how is try to compartmentalize the reality in like everyone is, certain groups of people are all good and certain people are all bad, and then certain people are X, Y, and Z, and then it's break it down to how we assign role to ourselves and others, and end up in some way, to me, is taking the power away not only from ourselves but also others to take responsibility for their life. So drama triangle, to simplify it, is basically the hero, the villain, and the hero, the villain, and the victim. Or the way Dr. Karpman put it is the rescuer, the persecutor, and the victim. And the way I look at it is, I will give you an example. For example, let's give an easy example. In our childhood, if my dad, if what happens, and then when you say, if my dad doesn't treat me this way, my life would be so much easier. I would not be this hurt. My life would not be this difficult, right? We just have Father's Day in the US. And then you assign a role to your father, as, he's a villain. He take over my life. He controlling me. He this and that. While in reality, while in the experience, yes, that could actually be happen. But still, it's the degree of how you end. And then you assign the role to yourself as a victim. Like, oh, I'm weak. I'm hopeless. I'm helpless because this happened to me. And as someone who has an experience being someone who had been sexual abused as a child by my neighbor and had gone through everything around it, the point of change is come to, there's of course there's a point of grief and anger, and you have to go through that feeling the hurts, and you're honoring that hurts. But eventually you had to make a choice as a human being to assign a role to yourself that I'm not a victim. I'm a human. I'm a powerful human, actually, and I can create the future for myself regardless of my past. Sure, would that be difficult time? Would that be like time that is you want to give up and all those things? Absolutely. But the key is to, instead of seeing yourself as a victim, to see that, you know what? I am a creator of my own life going forwards. And to me, that is the more powerful testament of you taking the responsibility for yourself and creating that. And in this way, or even people that hurt you, instead of seeing them like giving them so much power and saying, oh, if they ruined my life because of this and that. It's like, you know what? They're human too. Doesn't mean that you have to say that what they did was okay or right or whatever. They're human too. They're allowed to do heinous thing, as everyone had a capability to do heinous thing. Mm-hmm. And allow them to be human. And then you get to allow yourself to be human. In this way, it's equalizing the plane. Mm-hmm. So you have the energetic space to be a creator in your own life. Because if you assign yourself in this like bottom of the barrel, and I'm so weak and I cannot do anything, and this person just looming over you, like in you, basically in your mind, in your energetic space, you give them too much power over your life. And you don't have to make them a saint either, because that's also not living in the reality of the existing. But when I think of reality, it's ability to not see someone all bad or all good, and be able to see things for what it is, and allow people to take responsibility for themselves. So this is when we're talking about the rescuer and the hero. So sometimes women, a lot of women especially, sometimes get stuck in a relationship where they feel like, oh my God, he will change one day. Oh my God, he's gonna fall in love with me and change. But then the thing is, you end up assigning the role for yourself as a rescuer, as a hero, and then you don't really see the person in front of you for who the person is, and you're taking away the responsibility that that person had to deal with his or her life, Yeah. And in this way is perpetually make one person carrying all the weight, another person end up getting weaker and weaker. So it's important for people to, again, back to assigning role for people that you are human, I am human, I have responsibility and things that I desire and want to do in my life, and you do too. And if you don't, and you don't put your part of your responsibility into this relationship, maybe this is not for me.
Yes, definitely. And I think what you say, like, when we assign roles to everyone else, and of course, like, we are brought up in this world to assign roles, like, you're my mom, you're my dad, you're my teacher, you're my classmates, and it's been like that ever since we were born, ever since we learned language, right? So automatically our brain goes to like that kind of mentality, compartmentalization. And what I'm curious about is like the more we assign ourselves roles, other people roles, like you said, it kind of like rips us off from seeing them as who they are, and it disconnects us from our own self and from them too, right? So exactly. We are not actually like I'm actually not Annie. I'm just like a graduate student. I'm like a president. I'm like a I don't know, entrepreneur and whatever. And then we kind of forget like, oh, who does Annie actually am as in all areas of my life. So at that point, well, I have been disconnected from my own self, and that caused like anxiety, depression, panic attacks. I couldn't see like my gifts, and I kept going into like toxic relationships for, I don't know, 10 years, ever since I could get into a relationship, I would say, but then how does like, for you, I want to know, like, how did you first as a person break out from that victim mentality or assigning roles mentality? And how did you like reconnect with who you actually are? Like, what is the process in for you?
For me, it's about. Thank you so much for what you shared. That's really beautiful and brilliant. And I agree with you. It's like when we start assigning role, we create limitation, not only on ourselves but others. And if someone want to break free, they say, no, you have to go back into that box. So when you start to be open to something else, no, I need to go back into that box. And I would say the first thing is to break out of the pattern is, first of all, is to be curious and hopeful. To be curious and hopeful, to be curious, to see, and to have courage. I remember when I had a repressed memory came up for me when I was 18, that I was, sexually taken advantage of by my neighbor. And I was just traumatized. I remember I was in college. I could not even sit at a table with men. I was just so traumatized, just like, everyone, they're gonna harm me. It's just when you had trauma, your brain just went into shutdown. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. You just go into the protective mode. And I remember what really got me through was ability to get to the point where I don't want this life anymore. I want it to be different. I'm curious to see, if I go to therapy, if I do healing, if I do this, how would that change? And to just be able to lean into it and stepping forward for yourself. And I think the major change that happened is ability to not abandon any part of you. And that is the key thing, to allow yourself in the full creator mode. Because oftentimes I feel that people compartmentalize this part is acceptable to share. This part is not acceptable to share or be. And when you do that, you end up shrink yourself. And it's kind of almost like, I love Marvel movie. So it's like when you have the Infinity Stone on your hand, it's your ability to celebrate all the stone on your hand. It's like, I'm going to do the red stone, the blue stone, but the green stone I'm going to put in the pocket. Because when you do that, when you take the out of the stone that is about part of you, you end up saying that, you should be ashamed about that part of yourself. You should not embrace that part of yourself. And to me, the key is to be able to break through of all of this is ability to love yourself unconditionally. And how can one love yourself unconditionally? Ability to lean in and have compassion for the part of you that you dislike.
So basically accept like everything you don't like about yourself.
Yeah, and to see that maybe the thing that you dislike about yourself is the thing that the society told that you shouldn't like about yourself, and ability to lean into it and have compassion for it. Because a lot of the time that we have things that dislike about ourselves, let's say that, I dislike that that I'm messy. That am I messy or disorganized. And then the more we disliking it, the more we end up doing it in order to, feed that shadow. But ability in what way that we can be like, you know what? It's okay that I'm a little messy right now, but I'm going to get, better, get better at it, or start to do things differently out of curiosity. Be like, ooh, do I truly really enjoy being messy, or can I find a way to find the enjoyment in being a little bit more organized? So kind of stay in that curious mode of, part of you. Maybe give another example that more people can relate.
I want to know, how do you be curious and enjoy, your trauma? Because I've heard many phrases that your trauma is your gift. Your trauma is your gift. But how do you get to the gifts? Because I've worked with so many people and they were like, oh no, I hate it that happened to me. That's the mentality that you always here, right? Like if that trauma didn't happen to me, I would have been X, Y, and Z. But how do you like realize that it's not? It's part of
It's
you.
not. It's part of you. It's for you. It's probably part of your karma. If we're going to talk about past life, it's probably something that you come to reclaim, to see it as a gateway. The thing is, you can be both curious and pissed off and uncomfortable at the same time. And it's ability for you to be in awe of it and allow it to be messy and exciting, and you want to cry and scream, yet the moment that you feel the reliefs, it can be all of it at once. It is ability to not make judgment toward yourself and who you are, and especially your process of how you going through it. And that's how you get through it faster, because a lot of time the healing prolong because people, myself included, judging ourselves along the way. Oh my God, it's been 5 years. I should feel this way by now. Oh my God, it's been this year. I should get over it by now. No, we judge ourselves against our own unlofty standard all the time. And when we be able to release that, the sooner is you will feel better. And healing is not about becoming perfect. People have thinking that, oh, healing is about becoming perfect. I don't feel any more pain. Healing is ability to have compassion for the part of you that needed love. The little girl inside of you that needed to be heard, the little voice inside of you that long to say that it's okay to cry, and to allow yourself to be, like, for example, men afraid to cry because it's not manly to cry and all this thing. It suppressed that little part of them. So it's kind of almost, again, back to Infinity Stone. if the crying is the gateway to your, because in the shadow, in the pain, underneath it is enlightenment. Underneath is peace. Underneath it to surrender. If you allow yourself to unlock that gate through the pain in your life, and you can be able to love that part of you. And by saying love that part of you, meaning you be able to, like, it's okay to feel this way right now. It's not forever. And we'll get through this together. Ability to have conversation with that little boy, little girl inside of you, and be their best friend, and allow them to come out of their shell and no longer acting in tantrum. Like, no, don't do that. No, don't do this. And that's what kind of keep people stuck in certain places, because the inner child inside of you is, like, afraid and screaming for help. And its ability to lean in and love on them.
Okay, I see. So when you say this, like, the inner child is stuck in fear mode, and he's always screaming and, like, calling for love and for attention and being scared, right? I'm just curious to know, like, I'm curious, just curious to know, like, why are we, like, born in this state, or, like, why is a drama triangle a norm more than, like, the creator triangle? I think you get my question, right? Like, why do we start there? Why do we start?
Well, the thing is different thing. I think a lot of it has to do with how the world or how society create this triangle in order, even through educational system. Let's look at something as simple as educational system. Educational system in the world right now tend to heavily celebrate math and science, and anything artistic, anything that is not of the absolute one answer to thing, is always gets shoved aside or not celebrated. But the thing is, the art, like painting, dancing, all those things are the means that allow people to be who they are, exactly what they are. That they don't have to figure out one answer thing. Math and science, while I had a lot of respect for math and science, I feel that it's not an answer to all of the thing. Yeah. But it's control people to think that there's only one answer to be, one answer to come up with, one way to be. And in this way, the society end up assigning role for, like, oh, you the smartest one in class, or you at the bottom of the class, like you are the prettier one and you are not pretty. There's just a lot of the old world mentality of that you have to be number one, you have to step over everyone to get somewhere. And I feel that in my hope and what I'm feeling energetically, that I feel like that change is coming as people are awakened to not see things so black and white, to not see things from the word per place of absolute. So it's just basically the atmosphere that we are in. We are in the atmosphere that the person that, well, that's another entire mystical conversation, but basically the result of what happened is what creating the world that we are currently in. And I also think that it's the hierarchy too that had a lot of things to do with it. It's like, oh, you have the authority, I don't. And in some level, eventually you have to get a grip of your own life. So you know what? Maybe when I was young, I may not have X, Y, and Z authority. But now that I'm a grown adult, how's the future going to go forward? It's up to
It's
me.
up to us, yes. But like
Exactly.
as a child, sometimes you don't ever have that authority, and then your
Right.
parents are bred with, of course, like social expectations, social norms. Like they've been conditioned in the society for, let's say, 30 years before they birthed you, right? And
Right.
so that's how they passed on like their
Pass
fears
on.
and their hierarchical thinking and like their quantifying human beings kind of
Yeah,
thinking
exactly.
as
Yeah.
well. I don't know why people do that. It's like so unnatural.
It's not unnatural. And the thing
Yeah.
is, I always tell that the future is in our hands. We are the future. Like what we're gonna do about it. And each generation come with certain soul group, each generation come with certain mission. And I feel that certain soul group come to break that old pattern and create a different society. And sometimes, in order for us to get into that creator mode, certain fire has to come. Like for you to be hating so much, to be controlled and this and that, it's necessary for you to have that experience, for you to kind of almost like create a rebellious effects against it. And I don't want to use the word rebellious effect because the rebellious to me is still seeking approval from the authority. Yeah. See me, hear me. But to me, I rather see it as a way that you create something new.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
yourself and humanity going forward.
Yeah, and
So,
I think that's how that's how your trauma becomes your gifts, right? Like that's
yes,
what we were talking
yes,
about. Like you just
exactly.
learn from like the things that you experience. Okay, it's bad, it's painful, it's
Yes.
hurtful. No one should go through this. And then once
Yeah.
you kind of accept that whole thing about yourself, you don't abandon that ugly part anymore. You can turn it into something magical. Like, okay,
Beautiful.
let's do something that so other people don't experience this, you know?
Yeah, that's alchemization. That's how to change something to something else. And to me it's been a beautiful experience to own my own pain and to not feel like if I don't have this, my life would be different. But the thing is, you have it. Let's own it and make the best out of it, and to own it and not run away from it and see the love in it. Because to me, without what I have gone through, I would not be able to do what I do for people. Like I have with the abusive relationship that I gone through, I experienced what it's like to be gaslighted, what it's like to deal with the verbal abusive in my own head, and how to navigate it so I can help other people with things, and also empowering myself in the process. Because even through that experience, that person and I meant to connect again because we have past life together. Where things got really bloody and messy. But me meeting again, left that person was part of my reclamation to myself and my own liberation. Not only in this life, but also past life that I didn't get to do. So sometimes we meet certain difficult people in our life, not to stay in it, but you're claiming your power back to you is part of your healing multiple lifetime. So when bad thing happen, or discomfort, uncomfortable thing happen, know that sometimes it's not just this dimension, it can be another. Sometimes it's beyond, because we live in this world, it's not between just me and me. There's something bigger. For example, I'll give you a silly example. I got my license plate stolen. Maybe about a few months ago. And in America, if you get license plate stolen, you have to go to the police station. You have to report it. It is a pain in the ass. but I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll go. And the funny thing is that I have this box of blanket that I've been carrying around in my car for a while. I'm saying, I'm going to drop it off to homeless sometime and I'll do it. And I just never get to do it. And I just always kind of beat myself up about it in some small way. Oh my God, Tian, you're such a procrastinator. Why can't you just get shit done? But then sometimes we have to honor the voice within, that sometimes we make certain decisions quantumly, that we don't even know why we don't do certain thing. So I kept that thing in my box for like months, and I could have dropped off it anywhere, but I didn't. But it's not because I'm procrastinated. It's something bigger that I didn't know. I just start to see things differently now. And then I went to make a report of my stolen plate. And as I was walking up to the police station, there's a bus that pulled in. And then the cop came out and said, ma'am, I'll be with you in a little bit. I'm like, okay. And then there's a man on the bus that obviously distressed. He either on drug or not all there, I'm not sure. But then he came out, they ushered him off the bus, because he's not well. And then he walked out, and the first thing he said to the cop, because he doesn't have his shirt on and he was cold, I guess, is the first thing that he said to the cop was, do you have a blanket for me or something? And I was like, and the cop didn't say anything, and the cop was walking me to my car, said like, oh, you cannot make report right now, but you can come back tomorrow because it's late. I'm like, okay. And I was like, you know what? I have the blanket. I'm going to give it to him. But I didn't give it to him directly because of my own fear, of my own self-protection too, and I think I was being smart about it. So I gave it to the cop, and you can give it to him. And I was driving off, and I look over as he was holding the box. He was like, his head was up into the sky and he was crying.
Oh my God.
So sometimes certain uncomfortable thing happen, but ability to stay curious. Because when you're curious, your eye get to see what's happening. Because I was curious, like, well, I never get my license plate stolen before. I wonder, what is this gonna be about? But if I didn't go in with that curiosity, I'd probably be like, oh, whatever, this is shit, this is sucks, and whatever. But it went into that energy of curiosity and say, ooh, what is this gonna be about?
Wow.
And I got to see that.
Wow.
So that was really, really cool.
Wow.
So ability to stay in discomfort and know that even in the discomfort, it can be for you if you let it.
Everything is for you.
Everything is for you. Like, you can make it against you and you will feel it, because we are powerful co-creator. We have the energy of the creator in us. If we look it through the lens of like, oh my God, life is shit. Oh yes, it will be shit. Or you can be like, yeah, it's painful right now, it's uncomfortable, right? But I know that when I processing through this, I will feel even more liberated than ever before. And I can be in my authentic self than ever before.
Yeah. So when first, like, you recommend that first to get out of the victim mentality, right, is to just first become curious about your situation, yourself, or like, why was I put in this trauma in the first place? That's kind of like that mentality. I'm like walking the audience through, like, okay,
not so much of the why yet, because the why will come later. Your clarity will come later of the why, but more like, how can I make the best out of this? How can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And have that kind of like tenacity, was like, this not gonna get me down. Like, I may stumble and fall, but I will get up. Just kind of have that kind of Braveheart Mel Gibson mentality. Just like, Yes, gladiator, Russell Crowe thing, just like, just be like in that warrior energy and be
Yeah.
having fire in you and say like, you know what? Sure, shit happened, and who know what may happen in my past life or this life because karma. Okay, the karma from Akashic Record perspective is not about you done something wrong to someone and now you have to do a payback. Karma belong to self. Karma belong in what way that we have betrayed ourselves or betrayed our desire in the past, and in this lifetime we get to bring it back. For example, I talk about one of my past life where let's talk about the one where I was a mystic. Where I was a mystic and I was persecuted and I was stuck in a cave in Spain. I was not, well, my life was spared by because of my lover at the time had the influence and power. So instead of kill, I was stuck in a cave for the rest of my life. It's like, wow.
Is that a good thing?
I'm like, do I want that? Well, whatever it was. And I remember during one of the regression that I had, I saw the image of him, and I did meet this person in this lifetime. He coming to visit me, and then eventually he stopped. And then I heard that he ended up marry somebody else and go off. And then I ended my life in that lifetime. And I remember during well, let's talk about my leg for a little bit. When I met this person, my legs start to develop aware when sitting cross-legged, when I cut samadhi, one of my legs would stick up, it would not go down. And I think it's come from kind of past life memory. I'm sure that when you jump off the cliff, your body is not like perfect. So I remember when I met him, I developed that condition.
Oh, I see.
I didn't know what quiet was, and then I also start to heavily get into reading people Akashic Records. And I think at that time, I start to reading from maybe over 500 people now. And I start to, out of the blue, develop this unexplainable anxiety. Every time I hop on a session, it's just like, I'm going to die. And the session always went well. Nothing happened. And I asked the universe, I was like, dude, if you want me to do this work, I cannot feeling this way every time because this is not sustainable. Yeah. And they show me that it came from that past life where, because I call it past life PTSD. You think that, if I step into my mystical power more, I'm going to end up lose the love of my life. I'm going to kill myself. Who wants to do that, right? So I end up develop a process where I do meditation, because we can just connect to our soul memory within our own self and body, and went into that lifetime and talk to that person. And instead of I choose to kill myself, I chose to stay alive and become a wise sage. I chose to make the best out of my life and take the power back to me. And guess what? The anxiety went away. Because we are living multiple lifetime in this lifetime. So if you can claim power, give the power to certain part of you, or even in your childhood. I remember I traveling back to my memory that I had with the person that took advantage of me sexually. As a little girl, I encouraged her to stand up. She stand up, and she you cannot do this to me anymore. And she walked away. And that also changed how I feel about myself and relationship in the now. So it's the same way. Have conversation, shift the reality from certain spot and timeline. It will change your reality in the present.
Okay, so just to make it a bit more I can see it happening in the current lifetime now, because I cannot access my Akashic records without you, obviously, right? So let's say karma in this lifetime, or karma in this lifetime is basically the painful emotions or the painful situations that you felt in this lifetime. Let's say something bad happened to you as a kid, right? As a child.
Right.
And the karma, like you said, is to the self. Is basically what you feel happened to you in that childhood, in that situation, and that's karma in me now as a grown adult, right? If I'm getting this concept correctly. And to change our karma, to change what happened to us, is just basically to go back and feel the pain, feel the feelings. And a lot of us have been conditioned to not feel and to just keep distracting, to keep like chasing for more to fulfill that hole. But
or numb it, like,
or
oh,
not.
you feel the pain, let's go do more drugs, let's go drink some more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So to actually address or change our karma is not to do more good stuff, but it's actually to go back to the painful stuff and sit with it, be with it, reclaim it.
yes, absolutely.
Be back with yourself.
Yeah,
Be back with
while still doing good stuff out
yes.
of the loving creator greatness of your heart. But don't do it out of be like, well, if I do this will erase that. No. You're doing it because you want to do it. You want to share your love with the world. But the karma is really come down to how we abandon ourselves, or in what way that there's a part of us that need love from us to empower ourselves and to be a creator of our own reality going forward.
And this is like the pattern of just being born as a human being. Yeah. You just have to keep
in the world that we currently in, with the government that we currently in, with the school system that we are currently in. But I feel that things are changing.
So are you saying, like, I'm very curious about this because from what I understand right now, as far as I go into spirituality, is just that, and also Buddhism in mixture, is that as long as you're born as a human being, you will always experience karma and also like relearning what you haven't learned, like what you have abandoned yourself. And if you don't learn how to go back and love yourself, you're just going to keep going through that for whatever, how long. Is that true?
It is and isn't. Although the way is I experienced in Akashic Records, we chose to born here. We're not forced to come here. We chose to come here each time to live ourselves and our ancestors and to free it back to the original source that is love. So it's not so much like if you don't get it, you don't ace this life, you're gonna come back again. You don't have to if you choose not to. It's all a choice. So we come here, even our own suffering and crap that we gone through, we chose it. And how are we gonna play that game? Are we gonna continue the perpetual victim mentality? Are we gonna lean into being a creator of our own life? That's our choice. That's where the free will come in. Free will's a sneaky beast. It can be the most powerful thing, or it can be the most detrimental thing, because we get to be human because we get to be co-creator with the divine, and that's free will, is that choice that we get to make, so we can choose to be like, some of the most famous powerful speaker had one of the most intense life, like Tony Robbins. I think he was a janitor at one point before he became a billionaire, and he had a mom who had many husbands, and he able to be a great father and do all these things. His ability to have that kind of that tenacity to say, this is not going to stop me.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. And like that's like the way you break out of the drama triangle, right?
Yeah, to lean into the creator and the rescuer. You lean into being a coach, or to me, like to see being a guide, and persecutor or villain. You lean into being a challenger, someone that kind of play devil advocate sometimes to kind of get people to kind of see things a little differently. And I think the most beautiful thing is that you can be all three. You can be a creator, you can be a guy, you can be a challenger. It just depends on what situation, and to not stick with just one. The key is to be able to pivot and allow yourself to pivot in everything in life is the key. Because when you don't pivot, we don't change. We see in nature, if the water is stagnant, it's become, like bad water, become rotten water. If your leg is not moving, you may have to get, not moving for like months. You may need to get physical therapy. So it's the key to keep moving, even small movement. Like if you feel in deep depression right now, and depression can be a really difficult thing, just do small thing, like maybe go out to walk for about 5 minutes, or write something that you have gratitude for. I feel that the most powerful thing is the gratitude practice, and to write it down. The reason why I say writing it down, because sometimes it's in here and we forgot, but there's something about writing, and this is magic. This is actually Kabbalah magic, where you bring the non-physical into the physical, and you bring the physical into the non-physical. Is as above, so below. So ability to bring it down. So when you have gratitude towards something, it doesn't have to be something big. You don't have to win a lotto to write a gratitude. Like, you know what? I'm so thankful that I have a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that I am breathing properly right now. I don't need the tube in my throat to breathe. My dad is in the hospital right now. And I'm thankful that my cat is still alive and cuddling with me. And when you write that down, you start to see that your life is actually can be beautiful. That is actually have many good things that you can be thankful for. And when you start doing more of that, it will shift how you see it. It's almost like clean your lens.
I see. Yeah. So I this is like a not really related question, but is it the same, like writing and typing? Is it the same as a manifesting method?
Same. Right? When I channel, I type, welcome to technology. Again, is totally like is ability to pivot. But yes, I think writing is beautiful. I think it's like paper and the pen and the book is great. But if typing is still better than just leave it up in here, because this is so noisy up here sometimes, at least for me. So typing and writing, is ability to also be pivot. Enjoy technology. Use it for the best possible way. Absolutely. Why not?
Okay. That's very, very clear. Thank you so much, Tian. Like, is there anything else? Like, I think we covered so much today, and there's so much wisdom in what we talked about. I actually have to go back and like rewatch the whole thing because there's so much content, so much good content here. I bet lots of the audience have questions for sure. And you can also like leave that in the comments below, or Instagram PTN or Instagram me. We'll have all the contacts down below. Is there anything else like you wanna, say to the audience, or leave a message for them before we close up?
Yeah, I would just say, like we have summer solstice, I believe it's tomorrow, at least in America. Just lean into that creator energy, lean into the energy that you don't have to nail it the first time, that everything can build. Everything, everything start from somewhere, and ability to allow yourself to start somewhere, start that healing journey somewhere, start that hope, and start walking again, and start to say that I reclaim my power. And my love to myself. And bit by bit, it will grow. Trust me, I go from someone who is suicidal to where I am today.
Yes.
And if you're interested in readings, being here with Annie, I just use code Annie. I have to write in the back end of my Annie, AANNIE.
Yes.
And to get 10% off.
Oh, ANNIE, 10% off.
Yes.
Thank you, VTN, so much. And I want to leave behind that to lean into like the abandoned parts of yourself and to be curious. Of course, you kind of need to lay down your guards first and very much admit, I would say, just admit that like, yes, there is pain here, and yes, I'm not
Absolutely.
being myself. Like, it's the vulnerability that makes you very powerful, and it's the beginning of like all kinds of journey that like, yes, I need change. Yes, this is not who I love. I don't like myself right now. Like, yeah, that is very difficult to go there, but not impossible.
And to go there from the energy also is important, that to not go from the energy of I'm broken, but from the energy of I want to feel more. I want to feel the harmony in my life. I want to feel the unconditional love for myself and my authenticity, and know that you are whole and complete, just as you are now. However, there are things that definitely need more love and compassion. And that's where you get to have love or your infinity stone.
I love that analogy. I love that infinity stone. So creative. Okay, thank you so much, Karpman. It was such a good podcast, and we'll link all the stuff that we spoke in this podcast down below, just so like everyone gets the whole point and the 10% discount. That's so clever.
Yes, Annie, ANNIE.
Please go do a reading with her. I've done mine. It's so good. Change my life. Pivot my life.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, thank you, Ka. And
ขอบคุณค่ะ such an honor ค่ะ